5 seconds. Make sure I look pretty.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Are we good? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Got to make sure we're good and everything. Welcome. It's the first time you're here. The way this show works is we do two 24-minute segments. So I will talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, if you have any healthcare questions, send us the question through the platform. Garrett, back from a while ago, is back with us again. And John are going to be my producers today. They will read the questions to me. I will answer the questions. Then we're going to go back, do another 24-minute segment, then I'll answer questions again. So it's a great opportunity for you, your friends, and your family to have any health questions answered. Do me a favor, if you're listening live, put in hashtag live right now. If you're listening on a recording, put in hashtag replay. That just lets the bots out there know who's listening and who's not. So that's how it works. So it's a great time to answer any questions you may have. All you guys got to do is reset my clock, and we're ready to go. So we ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad you're with me today, because today we're going to talk about the downside of a high-protein diet and why you need to eat more carbs. Oh, my gosh, that's the greatest news you've ever heard in your whole life. You get to find out today why you need to eat more carbs. Now, the good news is you need to eat more carbs. The bad news is it's not the carbs you're thinking about. So just hang on with me there. So I want to talk first because so many people ask me this question about high-protein diets. Are they good for you? Should I be doing them? I was told by blank that it would do blank. All right. So some of the pros of a high-protein diet. Number one, if you do it, you'll lose weight pretty quickly if you do it right. Some people lose like 10 or more pounds right away. They say, oh my gosh, this is wonderful, it's awesome. Another pro, it can lower your total cholesterol levels. So if you can lower the total cholesterol levels, which can be good, but there's a caveat to that, so hang on to that. You're not starving. A lot of times when people go on diets, oh, I want to eat more food, I'm starving. You get to eat all sorts of meats and bacons and hams, and oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then you feel fuller longer because proteins and fats make you feel full. Those are the upsides. Now, let's talk about the downsides. Number one, the initial weight loss is usually temporary. You lose the weight, a lot of what you're losing is water, and so you lose the water weight, and as soon as your body readapts itself, it resets itself, and you put the weight right back on. So long term, doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Bothersome side effects. Your body starts to use ketones, because you want to go into ketosis, they call it, as fuel, and that's not how the body's designed to work. The body's designed to work on glucose. So if you start burning ketones as a fuel, you might get tired, you might have muscle aches, because what you're doing is, in many cases, you're not burning fat, you're also not just burning fat, you're burning muscle. And it's something called the keto flu. You feel like you're sick all the time. Many people, when they're on a high-protein diet, don't consider their fat intake because one of the original selling points was that, oh, I can eat bacon and I can eat steak and oh my gosh, and I can eat cheeses and I'm going to lose weight and it's wonderful. You're eating a lot of saturated fats in many cases, and that's not good because even though your overall cholesterol numbers may go down, your bad cholesterol, we call it the LDLs, oftentimes go up. The LDLs are the dangerous ones. It's the cholesterol that causes the cholesterol to stick to the artery walls. And so, not a good thing. And it's not for everybody. If you have kidney problems, if you have liver problems, you shouldn't be doing this. Now, we do a nutrition analysis on every patient that comes in our offices. We have 4 offices, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, and that's in the Atlanta area. Every patient that comes in, we do an analysis on. And by far, the number one problem that people have is liver issues. So if you have liver issues or kidney issues, you shouldn't be doing these ketogenic diets. So if a lot of people have liver issues, you don't even know it, it could actually be dangerous. And another problem is that you can get smelly. Your body can start to stink, and also a lot of flatulence. When you're digesting all these proteins, you get a lot of gas, and that becomes a big issue too. So there's a lot of downsides that go along with these high-protein diets. What else is a downside? So don't worry, I've got a lot of good news for you too. Weight gain, like I said, eventually it comes back. Another downside to these high protein diets is you get bad breath. Because what happens is there's two types of bad breath. Number one is you have a rotten tooth, an infection. That has a certain smell to it. Now, if your breath smells like a toilet, it smells like gas or an outhouse, that's the food essentially rotting in your colon. Because it takes a long time for meat and heavy proteins to digest. If I had, for example, today I had cantaloupe, I had honeydew melon. Honeydew melon is broken down and passed out of my stomach into my small intestine and absorbed. The process takes about 20 minutes to go from my stomach to my small intestine. If I ate a piece of meat, which I don't, it would take up to 6 hours for that meat to pass from my stomach into my small intestine. And in that time, those heavy proteins putrefy or rot, and that can give you really bad breath. And if you're in a ketosis, if you're burning ketones, many times your breath will smell like alcohol. I've had patients come in over the years and they're diabetic, so they're not utilizing sugar as a fuel. Their blood sugar, the sugar's staying in their blood and it's staying high, so the body's burning fat or ketones, and that gives you a sweet breath. And I've had friends of mine that are cops, and they've pulled people over and said, "Do you smell like alcohol?" And they're actually in ketosis. So again, it's not a deadly sign, but it's a sign that there's something seriously wrong. And brushing your teeth and flossing, it's not going to get rid of it. It's coming from your colon. So the food essentially rots in the colon, these heavy proteins. The gases get absorbed into your blood. The blood circulates through your body, and then gases are exchanged in your lungs. You know, oxygen comes in from your lungs, waste products are passed out, and that's when you exhale. And so it's really coming from your lungs, the rotten smell, and you can't brush that away or floss it away. Constipation. One study, 44% of participants reported constipation. High protein diets that restrict carbohydrates are traditionally low in fiber. Because people think I'm going to eat a high protein diet and you're not eating a lot of vegetables, which have no carbs, and that's the ideal way to do it. And so you have to increase your water and your fiber content. I've had people take Dr. Joe's intestinal formula. It's a supplement on our website, drjoe.com. Excellent for getting the bowels moving. I don't want you taking it because you're constipated, because you're eating too much meat, because that's the problem. The too much meat and too much protein is the problem. Some people get diarrhea. If you eat too much dairy or processed food coupled with lack of fiber, that give you diarrhea. So that's an issue. Dehydration can occur. I've had this happen because you're eating a lot of meat, and number one source of salt for younger generation is chicken. Chicken is loaded with sodium. Okay, it's also loaded with chemicals and hormones and other problems as well, so I'm not a big fan of chicken. But it's a it's a high source of salt, and also nitrogen. When the proteins are broken down, nitrogen is produced. And so you can go into risk of dehydration. We talked about liver damage. Kidney damage is another problem. When I first got into practice, I can't remember for the first 20 years of my practice having anybody coming in with kidney failure. Now, once, twice, 3 times a week, patients come in with different stages of kidney failure. I see it all the time. And many times it's related to people going on these high protein diets, which I'm not a fan of if you haven't figured that out yet. And they have high protein diets and it causes kidney damage. Now, if I eat, I'm making up a number, 5 grams of animal protein, that can do damage to my kidneys. If I eat 5 grams of plant-based protein, so beans, legumes, even carrots have protein in it. If I eat 5 grams of plant-based protein, no damage to my kidneys. Same amount of protein, different sources. And so don't think all protein is equal. It's not. Plant-based protein is fine. Now, the big thing is people say to me, well, Dr. Joe, if you don't eat meat, where am I going to get my protein from? I had somebody send me an email last week and said, where am I going to get my energy from? I work 2 jobs. I'm so afraid that if I give up the meat, I'm not going to have the energy. The exact opposite is true. Meat and animal proteins are one of the highest consumers of energy we have. It's exhausting to try to break down animal proteins. And so when you start cutting back your animal proteins, you get a better response. You have a lot more energy. Now, here's the thing I have to say, because I've been negligent on this in the past, so I want to make sure I cover this. you don't have to do everything I say right away. It's not an all or nothing. So I've had people come to me and say, Dr. Joe, I've listened to your shows, I've watched your videos, I follow you on social media, I watch your TV shows, your specials you've done. I could never give up alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Okay. Make a gesture, make a motion, do something to make a little change. Don't have to give it all at once. Make a little change. I've had patients not come into me as a patient because they were afraid I was going to force them to give up meat. Now, I can't force you to do anything. I can suggest it. I can give you scientific research behind it. But ultimately, it's always your decision. And I don't annoy you. I don't, bust you because you're not doing what I say to do. I go over nutrition one time, my staff and I, one time with the patients. After that, it's up to you. Whatever you decide to do is totally up to you. We support you in your decisions. But we can give you information to try to make you make better decisions. So kidney damage, increased risk of cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer all go up when you're eating a lot of protein, especially animal protein, and heart disease. Lots of red meat and full-fat dairies from a high-protein diet can lead to heart disease. Eating large amounts of red meat and dairy have shown to increase risk of coronary disease in women, certainly, and also in men. And there's something called trimethylamine N-oxide, and that's a gut-generated chemical when you eat a lot of meats that can affect the heart in an adverse way. So the studies are very clear. In fact, there's no question in my mind that a high-protein diet is not preferable over a plant-based diet or a high-carb diet. So what a lot of people are doing is they're eating these high-protein diets, they're losing a little bit of weight, then they start feeling bad. They start getting the gas and the bloating and the constipation and the loss of sexual function or sexual desire and brain fog. And they keep saying, yeah, but I'm losing weight and it's awesome and it works wonderful. And I'm willing to give up sex. And I'm willing to give up going to the bathroom. I'm willing to give up going near people because I stink. I have flatulence. I have bad breath. My skin stinks. I'm willing to give all that up because I want to lose weight. And the irony of that statement is that it's usually a rebound effect. The weight comes right back on. Now people say, well, it's great for diabetes. Yeah, I could see that. But the original keto diets, the original research was done on people having seizures. And if somebody was having seizures, they got them off the carbohydrates, seemed to lower their risk of seizures. Now, that doesn't fix the cause of the seizures. Many times, now sometimes it's tumors, and I get all that, but many times the atlas, the top bone in the neck, is rotated out of place. And it puts pressure on what's called the brain stem. It's where your brain kind of funnels down into your spinal cord. And when it puts pressure on the brain stem, that can cause the seizures. And that's why chiropractic care has done wonders for many people over the years, including animals, putting the atlas back in place, taking the pressure off the brain stem. I've had many patients, and I've had constant stories of doctors adjusting the upper part of the neck and the seizures decreasing or going away altogether. And I've seen it with animals. I remember adjusting a dog years and years ago was having seizures and never had seizures again. So it's treating the symptom, not treating the cause. If you're overweight, going on a high-protein diet is treating the symptom. It's not treating the cause. The cause is, why are you overweight? And I'm going to cover in a second why, if you eat a high-carbohydrate diet, there's a way to do that and lose weight. And if you do it the wrong way, you'll gain weight. Most people do it the wrong way, and that's why they say eating carbs makes me fat. That's also the type of carb that you're eating. So just consider several things about the dangers of the high-protein diet. And the people that have the longest lives, that have the least amount of health problems, that are the happiest overall, are plant-based people. There's, National Geographic did something that's called the Blue Zones. Where are people living the longest? And so they searched the world, and they found that Okinawa, Japan, Loma Linda, California, and there's a tribe up in the mountains of Russia. And there were a couple other places too. But those are the three main places that people had the longest lives, and they were the healthiest, and they had the least amount of health problems. So what does Loma Linda, Russia, and the other places that they investigated, Okinawa, Japan, very different cultures, very different lifestyles. Some are on the ocean, some weren't. What was the one thing that National Geographic found when they looked at these blue zones? Those people lived on mainly a plant-based diet. They weren't totally vegan or vegetarian, but mostly a plant-based diet. So they ate beans, they ate legumes, they ate grains. So you think, okay, well, Dr. Joe, I heard that lectins are in beans and they're bad for you. No. If your body is inflamed, they're bad for you. But if your body's not inflamed, it's not that big a deal. Now, some lectins are stronger than others, like gluten is a very strong lectin. But things that are small, low lectins, like potatoes, the nightshades, tomatoes, eggplant, some people have some inflammation from it, but not a lot, especially if we fix their digestive system. So the problem, again, goes back to the digestive system. So if you have heartburn, acid reflux, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, something's wrong. Pain. When you have these symptoms, the body's telling you something's wrong. What do I need to do to fix it? So if you eat beans and get a lot of gas, well, you may have to eat them on a regular basis to build new bacteria in your colon to help digest it. If you're young, it's probably not that big a deal. As you get older, your bacteria and your digestive enzymes change. So at my age, I take a digestive enzyme supplement every time I eat cooked food. Now, whether that's soup or whether it's eggplant or whatever it is, I'll take a digestive enzyme with it. And it's amazing how well that works. You can take apple cider vinegar, raw organic apple cider vinegar. Take a tablespoon or two when you're eating cooked food and watch how much less digestive problems you have. So it could be a chemical problem, but could also be a physical problem. The missing link in healthcare, across the board, I believe, is that we don't talk about the nervous system enough. The nervous system controls everything. So right now, there's a nerve going to your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys, your eyeballs, your prostate, your ovaries. Everything is hardwired to the brain by way of the nerves. And chemically, we can alter the flow of the nerves, and physically, we can alter the flow of the nerves. You can have a pinched nerve, and that can cause problems. So if you pinch a nerve, it might cause pain, but 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. So my doctors are trained to check the nerves that feel pain, but also check the nerves that don't feel pain. Because when a patient comes in our office, we don't want to get you out of pain, we want to get you well. My team of doctors and I are really good at getting people out of pain. Neck pain, back pain, numbness, tingling, radiating pain, sciatica, headaches. My team are really good at it. We can't make promises or guarantees, but we have a very extensive track record of getting people out of pain. So if you have pain, come see us. The Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, go to my website, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. If you're not in the Atlanta area, we can do a telehealth call if you want to, and we can talk about nutrition and give you health advice as well. But structurally, you want to come see us so we can see if there's any bones out of place. And we can check the nerves that feel pain and check the nerves that don't feel pain. But people also come to see us for digestive issues, nutritional concerns, brain fog, memory, anti-aging. We work on the nervous system, the digestive system, and the diet, which is unique. I don't know of any other clinic that does the extensive workup that we do. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $940. I've reduced that for my listeners to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. So if you're serious about wanting to put together a wellness plan, not just cover up the symptoms, drjoe.com, we can get you in this week. We have appointments available at all our offices every week. We leave them open just for you guys. So drjoe.com, we'd love to see you. And we take most insurance, well, we accept every insurance. It depends if the insurance accepts us. So we'll work with that too. And if you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, if you're ever in a car accident, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way, and I've treated thousands and thousands of car accidents. I teach doctors about car accidents. So drjoe.com, please come see us right away. Now, I teased a little bit earlier that the high-protein diet's not good for many reasons. So what I want you to consider is maybe switching from a high-protein diet to a high-carbohydrate diet. Oh my gosh, that sounds like heaven. Well, it depends on the type of carbohydrates and how you do it. So it can be done. If you continue in ketosis for a long time, you're going to run into problems. So people say, well, Dr. Joe, what are your thoughts on a high-protein diet? I wouldn't do it. But I also know that I can't argue with people. So if you're going to do it, I wouldn't do it for more than a month at a time, and then give yourself 3 or 4 months break. But if you do what I'm about to talk about, you'll never have to worry about that high-protein silliness ever again. Well, I work out, Dr. Joe. I need more protein. No, you don't. Your body only needs about 8 to 10% of its total caloric intake as protein. If you're an Olympic athlete, what we call an ultra athlete, you might need 12% protein. Most people get more protein than they need. I don't eat animal products at all. I eat a plant-based diet. I'm getting 2 to 3 times the amount of protein, maximum protein that I require. So I'm getting way more protein just eating a plant-based diet. If you're eating meats and animal products, way more protein than you need. And it's actually dangerous, like I said, to your kidneys and your liver and your digestive system and your brain fog and your blood sugar. So what happens is, if you go into ketosis after a month or so, you might have weight loss, but after that, you start to struggle to keep it off. What happens is, if you're struggling with weight loss and you can't lose weight, many times it's due to your cortisol going up. When I see patients that have trouble losing weight, we can do a saliva test in our office, and if you're not coming to our office, we can mail you the test, and you can just do it and send it off. Every single patient I find who has trouble struggling losing weight, they have high cortisol levels. And if the high cortisol is there, it causes you to lay down fat. So cortisol is a stress hormone. And it's released because if I'm under stress, my body's saying, okay, I got to start storing fat. Because I'm under stress, I don't know when the stress is going to end, so I have to start storing fat because I don't know what the battle ahead is going to be. So it's not just a stress hormone, it does a lot of things, and one of them is it causes you to store fat. And I'll explain that as we go on. Many times people have trouble losing weight, there's a thyroid problem. Now with the thyroid, I go off on a tangent here, the thyroid needs something called iodine to function normally. Most people don't get nearly enough iodine. If I said to you right now, where are you getting your iodine from? Some of you might say, well, I do salt, and salt has iodine, and iodized salt. That's not a good form of iodine, and you shouldn't be eating salt. So supplement-wise, I take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source every day. You should too, by the way. They're 2 powders. They taste great. I just mix them together, coconut milk, almond milk, water, juice, whatever you want to mix it with, frozen banana, make a smoothie. And it has sea vegetables in both Super Greens and Essential Source, which is the best source of iodine. And so I find people tell me all the time when they start taking Super Greens and Essential Source, it helps curb their appetite, but they also notice that it's easier to lose weight. And a lot of that, I believe, my opinion, is that for the first time in their lives, they're getting enough iodine to make the thyroid work, and the thyroid controls metabolism. So Super Greens and Essential Source work on so many different levels. But we have to start looking at the thyroid. So few people take care of their thyroid, and they have thyroid problems and don't even realize it. And one of them is having trouble losing weight. So one defining features of elevated cortisol is that it can cause obesity. So to me, that's a real problem. You have higher than desired levels of stress, suboptimal diet. You're surrounded by a number of different endocrine disruptors. Those are chemicals that we're exposed to in our diet and our environment that affect our hormones. And that can cause obesity to occur. So you were taught, many of you were taught, that the idea of a low-carb diet is the best way to go to optimize your metabolism, optimize your mitochondria. Mitochondria is the part of the cell that generates energy, and it's very misguided. For the reason that your body requires glucose, if you aren't eating it, you go into something called hypoglycemia. So your blood sugar drops. Your brain says something's wrong. We've got to fix this. So what the brain does, it releases cortisol so that your body starts going through a process called gluconeogenesis to create your own sugar. So if your sugar drops, hypoglycemia, cortisol is released. Cortisol then causes you to lay down fat, and that's the big thing with the weight loss. But cortisol also speeds up the aging process. I'm going to cover that in a little bit. It speeds up the aging process. And so the higher the cortisol levels, the faster you age. The lower the cortisol levels, obviously, the slower you age. So if you're on a high-protein diet, hypoglycemia triggers cortisol release. Cortisol speeds up the aging process and causes you to lay down fat. So when I went to chiropractic school, we learned that cortisol is what's called a glucocorticoid. Gluco means glucose. Corticoid means it's a steroid produced in your adrenal glands. Now I'm going to talk about the adrenal glands in a little bit. Now, folks, if you have any health questions, go to my website, drjoe.com. Send me questions through the website. I'm happy to answer your questions. Excuse me. If you want to make an appointment, really the best thing you can do is make an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Let's do a whole workup on you. Let's check the nervous system. Let's check the digestive system. Let's check your diet. Let's do everything we can, do a nutrition protocol, recommend supplements. All the supplements I talk about, Super Green, Essential Source, we'll talk about vitamin D, digestive enzymes, adrenal support, very important for steroid control, all on the website, drjoe.com. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. And if you're a podcast junkie, just go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. We'll be right back. Okay, part one. Questions?
What are the best types of nuts to eat?
Best types of nuts to eat are not peanuts. Nuts, they're legumes, and they're very high in omega-6 fatty acids. If you're a good listener, last week I did a whole show on omega-6 fatty acids and how dangerous they are and how they affect every part of your body, and they lead to so many different diseases. So if you go to the website, drjoe.com. It should be on the website. I know it's on my social media, Facebook and Instagram. We always store them there, so you can listen there. The best kind of nut, if I had to pick one, would be either a walnut or a macadamia nut. Pecans are very good. Pistachios are good, but again, pistachios are heated because that's how they break the shell open. Cashews are heated as well. You'll never see a cashew in a shell because cashews are toxic. They come in a shell, and if you ate it fresh out of the shell, it's toxic, so you have to heat it to kill off that toxic oil. So cashews are okay, but if you had to pick the best one, I'd have to say walnuts or macadamia nuts. What else?
That's it so far.
Okay. All right, we're going to do part two now. So what we're going to do, folks, is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. And whatever platform you're on, if you have any questions, type it in. And Garrett and John will read me the questions at the end of 24 minutes. I'll answer some more questions for you. And if you're listening live, again, put in hashtag live. If you're listening on a repeat, just put in replay. Just type in hashtag replay. Get my slippery elm tea there. All right, what do I want to pick up? Okay, corticosteroids. There you go. All right, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. What we're talking about today is the dangers of a high-protein diet and the benefits of a high-carbohydrate diet. But again, it's not what you're thinking. It's not cookies, cakes, and donuts, so don't get too excited about all that. So we were talking earlier about cortisol. And when cortisol is released in the body, it raises your blood sugar. It does this by breaking down your muscles, your bones, and your brains. So if you're under stress, cortisol is released. It's your stress hormone, and it breaks down muscles, bones, and brain. It sacrifices your lean muscle to release amino acids into your liver, and your liver converts them to glucose, and that's called gluconeogenesis. So how do we make sugar out of nothing? We break down proteins. So it's not breaking down fat cortisol, it's breaking down your body mass. So ultimately, cortisol is going to cause inflammation and impair your immune function. It's going to increase food cravings, and you don't want your cortisol to be elevated. So as a fuel, glucose, sugar, is vastly superior than burning ketones. It's the way the body is designed to work. You're not designed to put your body in ketosis. The body doesn't function well in ketosis. It'll survive, but it won't thrive. Same thing goes for fasting. Low carb and fasting are great interventions short term if you're overweight, and it kind of resets your metabolism. But over time, once your metabolism is reset, it's important to revise your strategy and start adding healthy carbs back in, or else it's going to backfire long term. So, there was a commercial about, I don't remember what it was. It's not about butter, a fake butter, a margarine. It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Well, that's what you're doing. Your body's designed to eat sugar. Excuse me. You're not addicted to meat. But when you eat sugar, the body says, oh, I like sugar, I want more. Well, in a perfect world, you get that sugar from fruits, certain vegetables. You'd get your sugar from plant-based sources. But what we've done is we said, wait a minute, I can squeeze a sugar cane or a sugar beet and get out this juice, and it's really sweet. And then I can concentrate it down even further and make table sugar, and that's really sweet. And then I can modify fructose and get something called high fructose corn syrup, which is even sweeter. And so we've destroyed a lot of our ability to experience normal sweetness. It's hyper-palatable food. And there's a whole branch of food science that says, how can I get you, the listener, to eat more sugar, eat more cupcakes, eat more pretzels, eat more whatever? And what we do is we add things to it to make it hyper palatable. One of them is sugar. Another one is monosodium glutamate. Glutamic acid stimulates your taste buds and makes food taste better. And that's why we add MSG as a flavor enhancer. We can add high fructose corn syrup to things. High fructose corn syrup is sweeter than sugar and cheaper than sugar. So if I'm making a product, whatever that product is, let's say it's soda, let's say it's cookies, I can make it cheaper and sweeter so that you enjoy it more because it stimulates the nucleus accumbens in your brain and you get high, and you're going to buy more of my product. So why wouldn't I use a product that's cheaper and make you buy more of it? I mean, ethically it's not a good idea, but I'm in business. I'm speaking metaphorically here. And I'm going to try to sell as much of my soda that I can. And that's why high fructose corn syrup works so well. And if you go to certain Latino communities, if you go into Latino grocery stores, they don't have high fructose corn syrup in the soda. They have sugar because the community demands sugar. They haven't been adulterated like we here in the States have for so many years, getting used to this hyper palatable high fructose corn syrup, and so the sodas actually have sugar in it. It's not good, but it's not as bad. And so that's an interesting twist to look at it. So cortisol, like we said, also speeds up the aging process. If it's chronically elevated, you simply will die prematurely. Your body's breaking down. Cortisol is breaking down your body to create gluconeogenesis. So you got to lower that cortisol level the best you possibly can. So it's clear if you need to be doing everything, you need to be doing everything you can to keep your cortisol levels low, and that'll keep your inflammation low. But it would also be a major mistake to increase your carb intake if you're still on a high-fat diet. There's the hook. So you can eat carbs, but you got to cut back on the fats. Now, I refer back to last week when I did a show, and we talked about omega-6 fatty acids and how dangerous they were and how they oxidize. They're polyunsaturated fats. And polyunsaturated fats don't have a lot of hydrogen molecules on them. And if without the hydrogen molecules, the fats can break down and oxidize and become free radicals and attack the mitochondria in the cell. And again, that was last week's show. But if you're eating a high-fat diet, your body does this. I'll give it to you quickly, and then I'll break it down for you. Your body says, if I'm eating more than 30% of my caloric intake is fat, my body says, I got to burn this fat first. I'm going to put the sugar aside. I got to burn the fat first. And so it switches into fat burning mode. Now, it's not just 30% of your diet, because if you eat 30% of your diet is fat and you're eating a bad diet, chances are you have a lot of body fat as well. So it's not just 30% of your diet that's fat, it's your body fat as well. And your body is trying to burn off this fat as quickly as it can because it realizes that fat, it can be dangerous for you long term. So your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, burning the fat, but then the sugar floats around in the blood. And the sugar is utilized as glucose. It's converted into glucose and used as fuel. Any leftover sugar goes back into the liver, gets converted into glycogen. Glycogen is where we store sugar. And if the glycogen stores are all filled up, your body says, I can't keep this sugar in the blood. It's dangerous. I got to convert it into triglycerides and store it as fat. This is why even people that have a plant-based diet, that are vegan, can have high triglycerides, because they're eating too much fat along with the sugar. I know that was a little confusing there for you. It could be. You guys are smart. It probably wasn't. But yeah, your body's going to burn fat if you have too much fat around. And it's not going to burn the sugar. And that's why, and I'll cover this in a second, again, the cause of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is usually not too much sugar. It's too much fat. And also the fats can clog up the receptor sites in the cell. And the receptor sites are where insulin goes into the cell and opens up the cell so sugar can get in. And so if the receptor sites are gunked up, again, this is really simply put, are gunked up, you can't utilize sugar, so the blood sugar stays high. So it's fats that are the bad guys. Now, one of the most important principles in food science I ever learned is, most doctors don't get this either, low-carb diets have helped tens of millions of people get their bodies back on track because they were eating bad carbohydrates, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. And so the high-carb diet got them to break that habit. And I get that high-protein diet, got them to break the carbohydrate habit. But that's only short-term because your body can only burn one fuel at a time. It's either going to burn sugar or it's going to burn fat. If you have too much fat, it's going to choose the fat over the sugar. Then the sugar gets converted into triglycerides, which gets stored as fat, which raises your fat levels again, which causes you to burn less sugar. Elvis Presley said it. I'm caught in a trap. And that's what's happening. It's called a Randall cycle, in case you need to know that. But it's more helpful to visualize it like a railroad switch, and it just goes back and forth. And you can switch from track to track. Too much fat, it switches to fat. Not enough fat, it switches to sugar. It's very simple. In both, the best case scenario, you metabolize and burn your glucose in the part of the cell called the mitochondria, which generates energy, without a lot of what we call reactive oxygen species, ROS. These are called free radicals. Free radicals are produced when energy is consumed. And free radicals are like Pac-Man. They eat through things, waka, 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 waka. And so they attack your cells, they attack your tissue, they attack your connective tissue, they attack your brain. So free radicals are eating away at your body. If you're burning glucose, sugar, carbohydrates, good carbohydrates, you create very, very little free radicals. If you start increasing your fat, when fat has to be converted into fuel, you create a lot of free radicals. And the free radicals attack the body, speed up the aging process, speed up the disease process. So fat is really the big thing. I mean, if you want the numbers, if you're burning sugar, you're burning about 36 to 38 ATPs per molecule of glucose. If you're burning fat, you're burning about 2 ATPs per molecule of fat. So it's way more efficient. You're generating a lot more electricity with the glucose, the sugar, than you are with the fat. But what kind of sugar can I eat? This is what you're waiting for, right? Dr. Joe, you said I can eat a high-carb diet. What can I eat? What can I eat? What can I eat? One fat that makes a big difference is the sugar you consume. Dramatic difference between something like high fructose corn syrup and then sugar you might get from fruit. So high fructose corn syrup in the body, and it's not much more than regular table sugar. If you had regular table sugar, white sugar, 50% fructose, 50% glucose. Glucose, good. Body uses it as fuel. Fructose has to be converted into glucose. And when fructose converts into glucose, I know it's getting a little chemical here on you, so hang on with me. The fructose converts into glucose, the body produces uric acid as a waste product. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. Now, as a chiropractor, as a nutrition expert, as a pain management specialist, when patients come to our office, we want to do everything we can to get them out of pain as quickly as possible. So we can give them the best chiropractic care in the world. And we can get them on stretching, and we can put the bones back in place. But if you're eating a lot of fructose, converting into glucose, creating uric acid, it's getting in the joints, and it hurts. So that's why one of the reasons we do nutritional workup on all our patients. And we hope the patients follow our advice because we're right. If we were wrong, I wouldn't be doing it. But the problem with uric acid, another problem, is that it lowers your body's production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation to your brain, to your heart, to your sex organs, to your spleen, every part of the body. And it flushes out waste products because you have good circulation and brings nutrients into the area. So if you're eating fructose, converting into glucose, it creates uric acid. Uric acid prevents nitric oxide production properly. And so now the uric acid builds up in the joints. And then lactic acid can build up in the joints as well and in the muscles, and that hurts too. So people say, Dr. Joe, I want to do everything I can to get out of pain. Okay, we're going to offer you what I consider some of the finest chiropractic care in the world. Finest pain management without drugs and surgery in the world. But you got to help me. And if you don't want to help, that's okay. I mean, I hate to say it, it's job security for me. You've got to come see us more. But I want you to do it on your own. I want to teach you to take control of your own health. But sweeteners, beverages especially, sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, also contain a tremendous amount of starch. And that starch, so it's a lot more calories than we think. We're using the sugar, but then the starch can cause problems as well. And many times it causes allergic reactions. So people are having reactions to the sugar and the starches, and they might have a runny nose, they might have rashes, and you say, well, it's not seasonal allergies, why is my nose running all the time? Many times it's due to an allergic reaction to the starches that are found in the foods that you're eating. There's a lot that goes into food. It's not just, hey, I'm going to mix some sugar and water together and make soda. There's a lot of things that go into that. So the starch particles also fuel the bacteria in your colon, the bad bacteria, that can cause inflammation. So as a pain expert, I know I am a pain expert, right? As a pain expert, it hurts me when I see people doing the things that are causing their problem and not stopping it. I walk through the grocery store and I see people on these little scooter carts. And oftentimes they're morbidly obese. And my mother was obese, and so I understand. And they're loading up with cookies and cakes and donuts and ice cream and pastas and no fruits, no vegetables, no fiber foods whatsoever. And my heart bleeds for them because I know it's miserable. I used to be fat when I was a kid. And even now, if I put on 5 pounds, we all feel that. We all feel miserable if we put on a little weight. But these people that have morbid obesity, and I know, I understand it, it just hurts me. But they're so addicted to the high that the sugar gives them, that the fat gives them, that they're not getting it. So you can eat things like fruits. You can eat things that are higher in carbs, legumes, grains, certain grains, not wheat, as long as you keep the fat low. Because then the body is going to be able to utilize the sugar and burn it off. If you start adding fat to it, the body switches, the Randall switch, switches over, and it starts burning fat. And the sugar then converts into fat, which then gets you caught in this cycle. So I hope that made sense to you, because it's really important that you get all that. So sugar is not your enemy if it's in the right source. It's not dangerous. Perhaps the only nutrient we've evolved to metabolize for fuel. We need it, but it's got to come from good sources. And if you're eating fruit, it's going to have other vitamins, minerals, and nutrients and fiber in it to make it work efficiently. It's got all the nutrients you need. If you're just eating plain table sugar, not a good idea. And then if you're eating polyunsaturated fats, omega-6 fatty acids, what is that? Corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, grapeseed oil, sesame oil, vegetable oils, soybean oil, I think I said that. The vegetable oils are bad. If you have to do an oil, I recommend extra virgin organic coconut, extra virgin organic olive oil, and the same thing with avocado oil. Those would be the 3 oils that are probably better. Not good. They're better because they're still processed. But if you're eating those vegetable oils and with polyunsaturated fat, all hell breaks loose. You're oxidizing saturated fats. So again, they're breaking down, they're rusting, like metal would rust. That's what happens essentially. And in the long run, it switches, the Randall cycle switches over, and you start burning the fats instead of the sugars, and it just puts you in a semi-diabetic or even diabetic state. So when I deal with diabetics, I get them on certain supplements. I get them on Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And by the way, it's not just for diabetics. Everybody should do that. It's the minimum nutrients you need to get that day working. Then there's a supplement called Gymnema. Gymnema stabilizes blood sugar, so you don't have those cravings. And then we get them on a high-fiber diet, because fiber pushes the sugar through the colon, you get a slow release of energy. And then the body's able to utilize that glucose to make it work. And so in many cases, type 2 diabetes is easy to stabilize, and many times reversible. Type 2, not type 1, that's different. So type 2 is easy to manage if you know how. And one of the things you don't want to do is go on a high-protein diet or a high-carb diet. If you go on a high-carb diet, you got to cut out the fats, especially the vegetable oils, the polyunsaturated fats. They're the bad ones. Now, if you're going to do olive oil, oleic acid, that's not as bad. That's a better oil. It helps protect the cells. You can do avocados. They have good fats in them. Nuts have good fats in them. But again, too much fat puts on weight. So a little bit of fat, but that's all you need. We got to realize we got to cut down on our fat. So if you take something, meat, okay, a chicken especially, is loaded with linoleic acid, omega-6 fatty acids, because they feed the chicken corn and soy, which is high in omega-6s. So you're eating the chicken, then you fry it in, let's say, peanut oil, more omega-6s. When you fry it, it causes more damage to the fat, which causes more damage to the cells. So something like fried chicken, one of the worst things you could eat because of so many different reasons. It's not just a thing. So if we're going to eat more glucose, I want you to add more fruit to your diet and bring back your oil level dramatically. And the easiest way to do that is don't use liquid oils. I know I use it I'm Italian. I like a little olive oil on my salad. That's fine. I like an avocado or guacamole. But then don't eat it with chips. Eat it with celery, eat it with cucumbers, eat it with carrots, eat it with a spoon. I'll eat guacamole with a spoon. I don't have to have a chip with it. So and the chips are one of the worst, corn chips. Oh, corn, high in omega-6s, fried in high in omega-6s, which then oxidizes the oil even further, and then we add salt to it, which makes you want to eat more of it. So if we can get your nervous system working, if we can get your digestive system working, if we can get your diet straightened out, I can't comprehend why this isn't healthcare. This is healthcare, by the way. Much of what you think is healthcare is sick care. We're treating symptoms, we're not treating the cause. Now, I am not against drugs, I'm not against surgery. I take medication if I have to. I have traumatic brain injury, sometimes I need medication. So I get it. Nothing wrong with that. But you got to do everything you can to maintain normal health. So how do we know what to do? Let's give you a starting point. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. My team of doctors are really good at getting rid of pain without drugs and surgery. So go to the website, drjoe.com, set up a chiropractic evaluation. In the process, we'll do a nutrition evaluation. We'll talk about your pain. We'll talk about the cause of your pain. We'll talk about your digestive system. We'll go through the process to try to get a protocol put together as quickly as possible for you. We do a nutrition evaluation on every patient. So if you have health issues, come see us, drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299 for my listeners. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, complete nutrition evaluation. The supplements we talked about, Super Green, Central Source, digestive enzymes, all the other ones are on the website, drjoe.com. Go to the website. If you have questions, send me questions through the website. I'm happy to answer them for you. Go to your podcast service, type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. We post 2 podcasts a week, at least, sometimes more. So Dr. Joe for the health of it, website drjoe.com. Follow us on social media, at Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're viral on TikTok. We post every single day. You're going to get so much information on healthcare. Your brain's going to explode. Actually, it's not. I'm going to give it to you a little bit at a time. But imagine if you knew what I knew, and you did what I would say if you knew what I do, you do what I do. What a difference your life would be like. And you don't have to do it all at once. You can do a little step here, a little bit there. Start building a healthcare protocol for you, your friends, and family. There is no better investment in the world. Stock market goes up and down. I don't want your health to go up and down. I want your health to go up, 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 up. I want you to slow down the aging process, lower those cortisol levels. Pain raises your cortisol level. So if you're in pain, come see us. Diet, stress, digestive issues. We want to do everything we can to get those cortisol levels down and in the process, fix a lot of your health problems. So drjoe.com, absolutely come see us. We'd love to have you as a patient. Because again, I want to go back to cortisol one more time. If cortisol is elevated, it can lead to obesity, it can lead to inflammation. Again, most people that are overweight, and I used to be fat, have high cortisol levels. And the cortisol, if you're just tuning in, cortisol will cause you to store fat. And if you have too much fat in your body, the body switches its burning, it stops burning glucose as much, and it switches to fat as its main fuel. And that's why these high-fat diets work, because you're burning up your fat. So eating protein, eating fat will do it short term. Then the body says, whoa, 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 this isn't working out. I got to go back again. I got to go burn the glucose again, and you start gaining weight again. So don't mess with Mother Nature. It's not the way it's designed to be. So the longer you start burning these secondary fuels, the fats, the harder it's going to be to get the body back to normal again. So you do so much damage to your body that it's hard for the body to reboot itself. And then you say, well, I'm going to start eating carbohydrates, but you don't eat fruit. You don't eat avocados. What are you eating? You're eating breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. So high sugar diet causes this, high sugar diet causes that, high sugar diets cause high triglycerides. Yes, they do, if they're done the wrong way. So if you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com. And first I'm going to recommend you type in 7 deadly sins of nutrition. Listen to a talk that I did on the 7 foods you want to avoid: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, bad sugar. Then type in, so what can I eat? And there we talk about what you can eat. And it's not hard to do, it's really easy. And my challenge to you is this. Also, oh, by the way, vitamin B3 also helps burn up carbohydrates too. That's why I take Dr. Joe's B complex every day too. But my challenge to you is this. do what I say for 60 days. If I'm wrong, so what? I'm wrong. I lied to you. Not the first person to lie to you. But if I'm right, you'll see such a difference in your life, your family's life, your energy, your love life, your brain. You'll say, Dr. Joe, now I get it. So again, minimum supplements would be Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I take digestive enzymes when I eat cooked food. Vitamin D, most people are deficient in vitamin D. When you talk about cortisol, you have to treat your adrenal glands. So I take Dr. Joe's Adrenal Support every single day. You should too. But we can customize a protocol for you. If you go to the website, book an appointment, drjoe.com. We'd love to see you. If you're not in the Atlanta area, we can always do a telehealth conference. Just call the office. We'll get that set up. But think what life would be like without pain or less pain. Think what life would be like to sleep through the night. I can't tell you how many people come to me with sexual dysfunction, especially after that big viral thing that went around. So let's try to get your body back to where it should be. So once again, the website, drjoe.com, social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. All right. Questions?
I have a bad kidney. Is there anything that I can do?
Yes, go to my website, drjoe.com. I'm pretty sure the show I did on kidneys is on there. If not, send me an email. Listen to the show we did on kidney function, because the kidneys are so important, and you gotta stay away from animal proteins. I am on my knees begging you, please, no more animal proteins from this moment on for the rest of your life. And then listen to the other things we have. There's other supplements I can get you on. Rena Food from Standard Process, Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can. Check the nerve supply from the spine that goes to the kidneys. So yeah, there's a lot we can do. What else?
Are any types of French fries okay?
No. When you heat fats and carbohydrates, you create something called acrylamides. And acrylamides are known carcinogens. So whether it's air fried, no, if you're having fats and carbohydrates heated at a high temperature, you're going to create acrylamides. So there is no good French fry. Boiling potatoes, okay. Heating them, and if you boil it, put them in a refrigerator overnight, and that creates what's called a resistant starch. So you'll absorb about 40 to 60, well, about 40% less carbohydrates if you heat the potatoes, put them in a refrigerator, and eat them the next day. You can heat them again, but just that process creates a resistant starch. There is no good French fry, though. No.
Are all natural juices okay?
All natural juices, if they're fruit juices, are loaded with sugar. So the answer is no. Vegetable juices are okay, but fruit juices are just pure fructose, and that fructose converts into glucose and uric acid, and we talked about that fructose process. So if you eat the whole food, it has fiber in it, and the fiber pushes it through the colon, but fruit juices I wouldn't recommend, no.
How do you nutritionally calm down the immune system?
Oh, that's a great one. You can have an autoimmune reaction where the body is hyperactive, and that's what a lot of people have. So if you have an autoimmune disease, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in autoimmune and listen to the show we did. But there's many ways you can calm it down. We have, of course, vitamin D is vital for regulating the immune system. We have Dr. Joe's Wellness Booster, which is Echinacea, Pau d'Arco, and olive leaf extract. That helps stabilize the immune system as well. Stopping the cortisol production, which we just talked about, can help stabilize the immune system. Getting the bowels moving at least twice a day, that can help stabilize the immune system. Yeah, so go listen to the show on autoimmunity, and then if you have more questions, let me know.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Guys, it was awesome. I really appreciate you being here. Follow us on all social media platforms, if you would, please, at Dr. Joe Esposito. And I appreciate you. Any questions, drjoe.com, or best thing, just come see us. Hopefully I'll see you this week.